Life isn't going to get any easier. One day, you will lose your mother. You will lose your father. People will hurt you, and you won't always understand why they treat you the way they do. These things will happen again and again throughout your life. And waiting for better days is pointless. Hoping for a world where peace reigns and you can walk the streets without fear that someone might harm you, that's not how reality works. The world is what it is. If we don't create better days for ourselves, they will never come. Many people ask how to stop overthinking, how to free their minds from the endless stream of thoughts that only get in the way. The simplest answer: learn to meditate. But let's look at it differently. Overthinking can take various forms. Sometimes it's a restless mind, thoughts constantly shifting, jumping from one subject to another. Your mind feels unsettled, overwhelmed by too many ideas at once. That's one kind of overthinking. But another kind happens when a single thought takes hold and refuses to let go. You dwell on it endlessly but never find a resolution. Both of these states are problematic. The issue isn't just thinking too much, it's the inability to stop, even when you want to. But if you learn to manage this, you gain control. When you need to focus, you can. When you want to dream, your mind will allow it. When it's time to brainstorm, you'll be open to new ideas. The real problem arises when you need concentration, but your mind keeps wandering. In such moments, it's important to find ways to refocus. That doesn't mean focus is the only right approach. No, everyone focuses on something. The question is, on what? When you focus, you narrow your perspective, concentrating your awareness and channeling your energy into a single direction to push something forward. That's why focus is essential. But with so many choices in life, how do you decide what deserves your attention? Should you prioritize social media or family? Your first business or your second? Your past relationship or your current one? With so many possibilities, it's crucial to take a step back and reassess your priorities from time to time. What happens in the background differs from what you focus on. Right now, my attention is on you. I'm fully engaged. The deeper I immerse myself in this, the more I tune out everything else. Who's sitting nearby? What's happening around me? But awareness and focus can coexist. I know who is present, yet I also know exactly where I'm directing my words. In other words, while I am surrounded by people and situations at any given moment, I am still able to focus on one thing at a time. Learning to master this balance, training your mind to remain in this state, is the key to navigating life effectively. At the same time, I'm fully aware of where my words are directed. This means that, on one hand, I'm surrounded by people and events at any given moment, yet my attention remains fixed on a single point. Mastering this balance requires mental discipline, training your mind to maintain this state effortlessly. It's similar to driving a car. Steering is a deliberate, focused action, yet it's inseparably linked to the presence of other drivers on the road. So, what's more important? Concentrating on your own driving or being aware of your surroundings? The answer is both, simultaneously. This is why focus and awareness must coexist, much like the balance of yin and yang. However, achieving this harmony often requires separate practice. You might dedicate time solely to focus, and later, shift to observing everything around you. It's crucial to clearly distinguish between these two states. This is what concentration feels like, and this is what full awareness of your surroundings feels like. The real magic happens when you stop treating them as separate and learn to blend them effortlessly. This is something everyone should understand. That moment, when you no longer separate these states, is when everything changes. So, how can you practice this skill? A simple way is to choose a single object to focus on, often referred to as a meditation anchor. A classic example is the breath. Instead of letting random thoughts drift in and out of your mind, you deliberately choose what to focus on for the next 5 minutes. Whatever you decide, that becomes your meditation object. You might say to yourself, for the next 5 minutes, my full attention will be on my breath. I feel the air entering my body, and I feel it leaving. Breathing is one method, but for those who find it challenging, movement can be another. In that case, the focus of meditation shifts to specific motions: lifting, lowering, extending, retracting. The key is to remain fully engaged with each movement. This is the essence of mindfulness, knowing exactly what you're doing as you do it. Your mind is occupied, not by distractions, but by your chosen focus. That's why it's called mindful practice. You are fully aware of your actions. You move deliberately, with purpose. The type of movement doesn't matter. What matters is the intention behind it. Within a few minutes, you begin to approach even the simplest actions with complete awareness. You take responsibility for where your attention goes and train your mind to stay present. These are often called mindfulness exercises or awareness practices. The movements themselves aren't what bring the benefits. It's the ability to direct and sustain focus that makes the difference. By practicing slow, intentional movement, you first develop the skill of deep concentration. This is the foundation. Once you internalize this, you'll notice a shift in everyday interactions. When speaking to people, you'll become aware of whether you're truly present in the moment or if your mind has drifted elsewhere. You'll start recognizing when your awareness fades and when it returns. And this ability to discern the difference is essential because anything we humans wish to accomplish in life can only be done with full consciousness. If you fail to recognize this, you will encounter obstacles that seem unsolvable. That's why mindfulness is so crucial, why we must be aware of our actions. Because if you go through life without clarity, everything will feel like a random occurrence. Your life won't unfold as it should. It will lack direction. Instead, life should align with your vision, shaped by what you truly desire. You should become the person you aspire to be, and that transformation must be within reach. But that can only happen with what is already within your grasp, if you choose to seize the opportunity at all. As I mentioned in our initial conversation, I firmly believe that each of us possesses something uniquely our own, something entirely in our hands. When this potential merges with awareness and action, aligning with divine will, fate, or the natural order of things, then what is meant to be will inevitably come to pass. However, if you pursue something that contradicts the natural flow of life, whether you call it destiny, God's will, or universal law, no matter how much effort you put in, it simply won't happen. So, what is there to realize? One must understand their place in this vast existence and learn to surrender. But surrender doesn't mean defeat. It doesn't imply giving up or resigning yourself to failure. No. True surrender is an overwhelming realization that life itself is extraordinary. It is not about quitting. It is about finally allowing the fullness of life to move through you. You can interpret these ideas in different ways, but at its core, what I mean is embracing life as it unfolds. You could even say, whatever happens, happens for a reason. That's why acknowledging reality is so vital, because recognizing it is the first step to understanding that everything we experience is part of a greater journey. And what is that journey? I believe that every individual undergoes different stages of trials, let's call them that. One such challenge is loss. As children, we all experienced what it felt like when someone took something we cherished. Some of us cried because even at that young age, we could feel the sting of loss. Then, a decade later, as teenagers, we may have faced a similar situation. Something valuable was taken from us, and that same familiar pain surfaced. Now, as adults, if someone takes away something deeply meaningful to us, the feeling remains unchanged. The point is this: the experience of loss does not evolve over time. What changes are the circumstances that bring it about. The feeling itself, however, remains the same. Loss is loss. Whether you're frustrated because someone scratched your car, upset because you misplaced something, or angry because something was unfairly taken from you, the core emotion remains identical. The triggers vary, but the emotion itself does not. Envy is envy. It doesn't exist in 50 different forms. Rather, there are 50 different reasons why someone might feel envious. The same applies to anger, grief, hatred, happiness, and joy. While the situations differ, the emotions remain constant. There is no doubt in my mind that loss is something every person will face at some point. The real question is, how will you handle it? Because until you learn to confront and navigate loss, it will continue to resurface as a recurring struggle in your life. Once you learn to deal with loss, the next challenge might be anger. Situations will arise that frustrate you, and your task will be to master that emotion. Whether it's minor annoyances or significant injustices, the feeling itself will be the same, until you find a way to rise above it. You must tell yourself, no, I will not let anger control me. I must be the one in control. And once you've mastered anger, a new challenge will emerge. The question of life and death, the reality of fear. That fear will persist until you discover for yourself how to confront and manage it. Why am I so confident in this? Because the same principles apply to the way we train with the intense methods of Shaolin Kung Fu. There are many ways to experience pain. We take this into account. We acknowledge that pain is inevitable. We understand that when you engage with this process, when you start applying these techniques, pain will be a part of it. But that's exactly what we want. Why? Is because it forces you to be completely present, fully immersed in the now. And in that moment, you come to understand how to release pain. There is an old saying, once you push beyond a certain threshold of pain, it will never return in the same way. That chapter is closed. When new pain arises, it will be something different, something unfamiliar, but never the same suffering repeated. This is the key difference. Some people, when faced with difficulties, avoid them. They turn away, suppress them, or attempt to escape. Others choose to meet them head-on. You confront anger, you face fear, you acknowledge envy, pain, discomfort. You willingly step outside your comfort zone. Why? Because you recognize that once you overcome a challenge and find a resolution, that particular pain will never burden you again. That is why I encourage everyone, from time to time, to embrace these methods. There's a well-known saying, life will not become easier, but your mind and body will become stronger. Challenges will continue to arise, but you will face them with greater calm. Why? Because you will finally start uncovering the solutions that have been within your reach all along. Personally, after all these years, I still find great value in this blend of physical training and mental spiritual growth, just as it has been practiced in the Shaolin Temple. Many philosophies speak of ending suffering, but what resonates with me is the philosophy of overcoming suffering. Overcoming suffering means recognizing that hardships are inevitable. You will lose loved ones, your mother, your father, your friends, even your pets. It will happen. You will experience financial setbacks. You will encounter people who hurt you for reasons you may never understand. These experiences will repeat throughout life. And waiting for an ideal future where the world is at peace, where you can walk the streets without fear, where no harm will ever come your way, that is an illusion. That world does not exist. Reality is what it is. But knowing this, preparing for it, and equipping yourself, physically, mentally, emotionally, to navigate life's difficulties, that is within your power. That is something you can control. All you need to do is let go of the illusion that easier days are ahead. Better times will not come on their own. If we do not create them, they will never exist.